And in today's video, we're going to be looking at what will happen the next 3 days. This, as you know, if you're familiar with my readings, is some of my favorite type of readings besides doing spirit guided readings, because when we are looking into the future, whether it be a short time period, a much longer time period, it can be extremely helpful in our present day. Even though it is good to live in the present, we want to aim for being present mentally and emotionally. When we are able to foretell if something good's going to happen, it can put us in a good mood now. There's a sense of, I will take a deep breath and relax. I know it's all going to work out. Everything I'm doing right now is adding up to something. Sometimes it's about foretelling a lesson to be learned. And if you don't really love something you're seeing, that in itself is the lesson, and you can pre-learn it. You can pre-understand it and essentially bypass the whole experience. Because that's why you're experiencing in the first place, to figure something out, to learn something, to understand something you wouldn't have understood unless you experienced it. And you're saying to the universe, no, I'm happy to pre-learn it this way. So it gets really fun because you can get excited about something, you can even change things, you can better understand things that you're putting out into the universe and saying, I'd like to know why, and you can pre-understand it instead of waiting for it to happen. You can sort of, in a way, fast forward the process of the understanding. So as you can see, it gets very abstract in how helpful it can be. Not in the actual, getting to the detail of it, but there's so many different ways you can benefit from peeking into the future that might not be just as straightforward as simply knowing information. It can benefit all these different avenues, essentially. So, in addition to that, if you enjoy my readings, you can support me if you would like to. I have a Patreon where I offer a lot. And I repeat, a lot. It's become quite a thick library, if you will, of information that I get from my spirit guides and going to the Akashic records. I guide people through their abilities and just general meditations. I answer questions. I go through sacred geometry. I look at all the possible avenues. We talk about time and how to work with it. I mean, I'm just giving a little brush over of all the potentials. But in addition to that, I just posted 4 new videos over there. One of the videos is, well, fun fact, did you know that the tarot cards, the archetypes of the tarot cards, have existed before tarot came into the physical world? So you can channel them. So I go into the strength card in particular in that one. It's a bit of a series right now, so there's a bunch of videos there. And I channel the archetype of the strength card. I do talk about the card itself in detailed upright and reverse, so there's a better understanding of it. And then we encounter and meet the individual, the archetype of the strength card that I channel, and have an even better understanding of what that exactly means for them. Because you'd be surprised the tonal difference of the cards in comparison of the actual archetype. So it lets you really help you better understand what do we see things in the physical world compared to the non-physical world. The second video is really fun. This is so awesome. So I can do coding. It's a type of spiritual work. And essentially in this video, I guide whoever is watching it to do their own coding for self-improvement and self-discovery. Very specifically, this coding that I will guide you through, and you're going to be doing it to yourself. I'm just going to be there to help you in case any of the coding needs help. The coding will then enable you to be much more self-aware of your habits, like you're better able to define, notice them, and identify them, and better understand how you would like to change them in a beneficial way for yourself, which it's always the little things that add up and that make us who we are. So this is, I personally find very helpful, and if you would like to experience that and start to work with coding and spiritual work, that video is there for you too. The other 2 videos I have a video about what it means if you dream about fairies, and specifically an individual on my Patreon asked about how they had an experience about dreaming with fairies, and I actually get into specifics of their particular situation. And then the last video is, this is my most spookiest one. So I had a while ago this terrifying dream that I at first thought essentially was just a dream, and I actually found it out that it was a memory of somebody else. I was given somebody else's memory of a not great incident that happened with a cryptid. It's funny too, I have never experienced this or seen this cryptid before that moment, and then when I showed someone else, they immediately recognized what it was and was telling me about it. But I talk about not only the dream, but then the basically pre-telling of spiritual work I needed to do involving that cryptid. So you are welcome to hear about that videos there. So as you can tell, we have quite a variety of stuff over there of exclusive content. In addition to that, if you are interested, I have an intuition training course where I talk about how to go to the spirit realm, meet your spirit guides, and how, and this is important, how the physical world overlaps with the non-physical world overlaps with the physical world, what that means and how you can apply it to your daily, everyday, practical life. And then I have a tarot training course, which as you can see, tarot's very helpful. And in there, we go right into reading tarot, simplifying the process, not losing any of the details, giving away all my secrets of how I read tarot myself. And it's just a really fun, awesome course I'm also additionally proud of. And those are all can be found in the description below. But let's get back to our reading. We have 4 groups in front of us. Group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you've picked whatever group that you're vibing with most, you can go down to the description, or you can skip to that designated group that's timestamped. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's look at the next 3 days and what will happen by looking at the cards. We have your gratitude card. This is less of an oracle card and more of a gratitude card, I think is what it's called. Or is it? What is it called? They're goddess cards. They're affirmation cards. Okay, sorry about that. They're affirmation cards. I invent creative solutions to the challenges in my life. Then your tarot cards are 4 of Cups upright, 8 of Swords upright, Queen of Cups in reverse. Oh, I'm already hearing from my spirit guide this is not being read in reverse. 4 of Wands upright, and Queen of Wands upright. And just a real quick reminder, if you're new here or if you're just a tarot reader yourself, just because a card is in reverse doesn't mean you need to read it in reverse. If you want to read these always in reverse, that's more than fine. These are not rules. This is just possibilities in your reading. But anyways, sometimes you might say then, well, if it's not being read in reverse, then why is it in reverse? Because it is interacting with this card. See how this individual is facing and going to hand over the pumpkin and interact with these this second card? It's letting me know these cards are being read as more of a pair together, and that it's being read upright because technically it would be facing like this. So just putting that out there. So give me just one more second though to look at the details of all of these cards and to consult my spirit guides. By the way, I just want to put this out here right now. I am loving the energy of this card reading. My third eye is like super vibrating. I just feel really like happy and chill. I just really love this because when you read cards, you'll get different like flavors. Oh, I forgot to ask. I wanted to ask a specific question at the beginning of this intro. Oh well, I'll ask it next time. Put down in the comments below, if you're reading cards for yourself or have had them read, do you feel anything when you're experiencing it? And sometimes that's a huge reason why I'll have to stop myself, because sometimes I can feel people's emotional pain to such a degree it just starts to make me cry and it's intense. In this particular case, I am just feeling like I'm swimming. I just feel so happy. I feel like I'm truly vibing. I'm just particularly loving this experience firsthand. And you're going to love hearing this reading too, because this is more something to be aware of, something that makes the situation and your perspective on it different, and so you can handle it in a more fun, helpful way. And this is like complement central / where to focus your energy and some things that will get you really excited about who you are and how you can transform yourself into whoever you want to be. So over here we have our affirmation card. I invent creative solutions to the challenges in my life. My spirit guide was saying that some obstacles are going to come up over these next 3 days. But here's the important thing. It's not anything to feel stressed about or concerned about or be like, oh, what a pain. My spirit guide said, you need to view these as opportunities. They're not obstacles, they're opportunities that you can approach these things in a different way. You can approach it in a way you wouldn't normally. You would think, how would I initially react to the situation? You think of that first initial reaction, and then you think, okay, so we're going to erase that off the table. We're going to erase the first idea, and now we're going to try maybe the third option, the fifth option. And it starts to let you be aware of all the potential paths, all the different ways you can approach things that are outside of the box, not the conventional way of approaching it. And I want to be clear here. It's not important that it's unconventional. It's important that by you getting an opportunity and approaching this obstacle or opportunity, you're learning that every time you experience anything in life, it is just a chance for you to exercise your abilities, to exercise your, we're talking about like psychic abilities, your creative abilities, your logic problem solving abilities. And this is what makes you stronger. This is what makes you smarter. And I don't mean stronger in that way where people sometimes go through really difficult things in life and they're like, well, I'm stronger for it. But there's a little bit of like, didn't love going through that. This is not that. This is more like you looking back and be like, I had approached my project in a new way. Now I know a new, totally different artistic way of approaching it. I normally paint, and now I know how to work with ceramics. It's like a fun thing, essentially. So it's not about being unconventional. It's about looking beyond what's just right in front of your face and realizing that the world, the way you perceive it, the way you interact with it can be totally different. And going on, my spirit guide did talk about this idea of manifesting and saying that manifesting isn't always about manifesting just what you want, but you can also manifest how you want it. Now I really remember. My spirit guide was telling me essentially that these opportunities are giving you a chance to realize how much you can be a part of the process. And also, and this is an important thing I want to say before I get into the details of some of the obstacles I see popping up, is when we understand the complexity of manifesting and we get more detailed. And here's a fun fact. You actually can get more detailed with manifesting. Manifesting has a ton of different ways of approaching it. It changes throughout your life, all that jazz, depending on what you need, when you need it, that type of thing. But it's like we can give a name to something so we can tackle it directly. It's very much like when you're doing spiritual work. Initially, you're like, I feel bad. But eventually you might find out, oh, did you know that there's such thing as soul fragment loss, which is on my Patreon. I talk about that. Talk about how to get that back and all that jazz. And by having a label for it, having a deeper, detailed understanding that could be a potential issue, and then giving it a solution, you can get more straightforward to the answer. It's not like you're just reaching into the darkness, so to speak, and just hoping to pull something out, not quite able to identify it. So again, opportunities to understand that you can manifest how you want it. So one of the obstacles I see over here in the Eight of Swords upright specifically is this concept of being surrounded, very much like the imagery here. But I want to be clear here. I was told specifically it's a family-related thing. But it's not this idea of you like standing in the kitchen, getting ganged up on, everybody, sharing their 2 cents and feeling overwhelmed in the moment. It's more like maybe you have a moment and you talk to one relative and they give you an opinion that you felt like stopped you from going to go do something, or they give a negative opinion about something that you're interested in, and it feels like a version of a blockage, like some sort of wall, or like you can't express yourself over there. Then maybe you're later talking on the phone or getting a text message from another relative. Again, it's not all happening at once in the same location. It just feels like it's coming from all these different little avenues, and it's a pain and you don't really love it. The main goal of your problem solving, when we talk about this being an opportunity over here in the Eight of Swords, is when it comes to this card, this talks about the idea that the only obstacles in your way are ones you allow to be in your way, whether they be your own lack of self-confidence or giving your power over to others. So it's the idea of self-limiting beliefs. And once you realize that when you have an Eight of Swords situation, Eight of Swords is, in my opinion, an extremely positive card, because it implies that you are much more in control of your life than you may be giving yourself credit for, and taking in your inner power and expressing to others. So this is you initially feeling surrounded, and then through this creative problem solving, as we talked about, you're essentially removing these obstacles. These obstacles could be removed literally, like this individual moves away, maybe you just don't hear from them as much because their phone breaks. Maybe it's just the way of feeling like their opinion just doesn't sway or hold weight. It feels sort of like background, noise, so to speak. That could be a way of solving it. But whatever it is, it's feeling like you're initially enclosed, and then removing those enclosed spaces to feel free and feel like there's no walls surrounding you, and essentially you're free to be interested in whatever you're interested in and express yourself how you want to express yourself. The other thing popping up is the Four of Cups, and I love how specific my spirit guide got into this, because when you get into interacting with the world and realizing that every single thing you do, the way you think, the way you feel, all of it is a form of breaking down spirituality. It all means something, and it all can help you open your mind and see the world for what it is. A place that you can control, a place that you can create, much more open, much more possible than we may be foretold, you could say. I cannot believe I just said foretold. Welcome to my medieval tarot reading. Anyways, going back on. Foretold, we have the Four of Cups upright, talking of this concept of you being bored the next 3 days. And bored as in just like, nothing's quite getting you excited. Just that typical I don't know what to do with myself or my time. But here's the thing. My spirit guide said, anything you touch, like physically your hand, goes, here's a card type of thing, you touch it, you are then immediately bored by it. It just doesn't get you excited anymore. So here's an example of that creative problem solving. So you're learning, you having this reaction to it is on purpose, because it's giving you an opportunity to know that you can find something exciting to do that isn't primarily focused on physical things that you're interacting with in front of you. So maybe this concept that does excite you, inspire you, when we talk about the creative problem solving, is something that's more abstract, like an idea. Like maybe it's a story, like a book. But maybe it's even more abstract. Maybe it's an audiobook. Maybe you go listen to an audiobook and you go for a walk. That's an example of pulling away from that physical interaction and working in that abstract kind of way. But keep in mind, remember, anything that you're physically coming in contact with tangibly, you're going to get bored of. So the solution is doing something that is intangible. And again, that opportunity, you can change the way it happens, not just what it is, but the way it happens. So love that for you, essentially. As you can tell, not really that big of a problem, just more fun opportunities. Think of all the ways you're interacting as a form of a sketchbook. Like life is a sketchbook, but we're not just talking about literally drawing, we're talking about all the ways you're interacting with it. Now going on, I have over here in the Four of Wands upright, I do have a sort of party popping up. I did ask a bunch of questions from my spirit guide and was like, could this be unconventional? Like like a smaller party, like at a coworker situation or something like that. And I was told, no, it's a party. But you're going to go at the party, and then this is when we have the Queen of Cups being read upright, not in reverse. So this is essentially a really awesome experience for you, because when you go there and we have a Queen of Cups upright situation, this is somebody who is very emotionally balanced. And I want to be really clear. She's always had sort of, the card itself has have a flavor to me, for me. Like, to be able to be the Queen of Cups, you are somebody who is actively going up and down and up and down. But the difference is you are not being swayed by one emotional flex to the other. So when you go up and you're nice and high and you feel really positive, you're not getting so hooked on it, so over the top, which is not a negative thing. I want to be clear. That you can feel as happy as you want, as blissful as you want, but you don't get in this mindset like you have to hold on to it, as if it's impermanent, as if, oh no, something could affect it. What if I don't feel this happy tomorrow, kind of thing? Because you're just like, wow, I'm just really enjoying this moment as is. And then when you go down because something emotionally bothers you or you're feeling it, you just don't feel like when it happens and it's not a fun experience to have, you're not thinking it's forever. You're not worried if this is how you've always been or how it always will be. You're just like, you know what, right now I feel this way. And there's a certain level of confidence and ownership you feel to it where you're like, you know what, I'm going to cry and I'm okay with that. And so when we have someone so well adjusted, they are still feeling all their feelings, no matter what spectrum they're on, but they're just looking at it from a really mature, wider perspective, like seeing the bigger picture of their own life and how they interact with it. So when you're interacting with all these individuals, there might be things that you respond to and you in the moment feel like, wow, that was so easy to respond to. And you have the self-reflective moment where you're like, man, me 3 years ago, I would have been very emotional about this. This would have bothered me. Or maybe you have an interaction with someone where, again, it's not from the perspective of the party of people challenging you or putting you in uncomfortable situations. It's not like that. Everyone's got their own personal journey they're going through. It's more like you don't know how people are going to respond to certain interactions. So it's a positive partying experience, but you're self-reflective during that moment. Or maybe you can feel people's emotions very intensely, and that used to be overwhelming, and instead you're like, wow, it's like, I know what they're thinking and feeling, but I just don't feel like I'm taking that on. Look at how far I've come. So again, it's not only a compliment, but this reassurance of it, go to this party, have a good time, enjoy yourself, but just know that you will have this self-reflective time period during the interactions with these other individuals is what's going to kind of like cement in your head, wow, all that work you did really did pay off. Look how far you've come. You're awesome and amazing. Basically compliment party, as I always like to say. And then at this party, this is our last bit, is we have the Queen of Wands. Now, I was told it is a woman. For some of you, you will be drawn to them, like on a romantic level. And for others, you're just drawn to them. But this woman, and I was, and again, for fellow tarot readers, many tarot readers read this as an older woman. But I always ask my spirit guides because my cards are more flexible. And so in this particular case, the age does not matter. So it's not an older or a younger or any specific, it's just a woman. And you will feel drawn to them, magnetic. There's just something about them. You can't help it. When they talk, when they express their opinions, you just feel like you want to sit at their wayside, very much like this cute little kitty over here, and you just want to be around them, and you're just really vibing it. You feel like it's the place to be, and you're really happy to be there. But here's the specific thing going on here. There is a magnetism to them that you want to sort of adapt mentally, if you will. And what I mean by that statement is you're going to notice the things that work for them, or you feel like, oh, when they were magnetizing themselves, it was like an energy. Could I mimic that energy? And the answer is yes. Oh, whenever they expressed themselves, they just never seemed afraid. They weren't concerned with what anyone else thought. I think I'd like to practice that too. You're basically experiencing them to adapt what you like out of the experience and sort of taking it on for your own self and adapting it to your personality, essentially. So it's a very fun interaction and something that continues forward, something that you're adapting and working with in yourself going forward. So as you can tell, the next 3 days are going to be fun. A lot of no, I will not experience your opinion or feeling closed in / I will make all my dreams come true no matter how, at first initially nothing gets me pumped. I will find something that gets me excited, and realizing how much control you have in your life and what a creative problem solver you are. And then in addition to that, just good vibes, compliments to yourself, adding on top of what's already been so beautifully worked on and improved. As you can tell, it's just going to be fun as heck. Anyways, other than that, I hope you enjoyed this. Please give this video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out what will happen in the next 3 days by looking at the cards. We have our affirmation card. I learn valuable lessons from studying the past. I'm going to have to, okay. Because we are learning valuable lessons from the past. 5 of Wands upright. 4 of Swords in reverse. 8 of Swords in reverse. And 4 of Swords upright. I know it says bats, but that is what this cards is, this deck is representing for the swords. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm already seeing a lot. I can tell this is very, very, very centrally focused on one concept. I made that reaction because of the repeating cards. We always want to pay attention to when cards repeat. This is actually a huge reason to why I am so enthusiastic about using multiple decks in card reading, even if you're reading for yourself, because if a card repeats, it's of importance. Think about all the options you could get and you still got that. It's also important because over here in reverse, it means one interpretation, and then it means something totally different if it's upright. And these also extend to the interpretation. And I'll explain that in one moment when we get to it. Just give me one more second to look at the details and consult my spirit guides, though, because I can already tell this is really focused. Yeah, okay, that's exactly what I thought. Okay, so this whole reading is, like I said before, very focused on one type of concept and goal you have for the next 3 days. For it to pop up in every single card, I can tell through subtext, you need a lot of, I guess you could say reassurance, but it's constantly over and over again being you really should do this, by the way, you really should do this, and you potentially being oh yeah, no, totally, but then finding a reason to make an excuse, or you accidentally forget about it, or you can't help it because you're trained in a certain mindset to focus on something unintentionally, and you just keep over and over, from your guides, from your peers, whoever, are you really should look at this, and you're oh yeah, totally, and it's just, again, it doesn't, we need to keep reminding you, essentially. But the beautiful thing is, the reason why it's so important to be reminded of this idea is it will set you free, and it will be very relaxing, and there's a bit of an exercise you can do that can make the process much simpler to fathom, because we can say, hey, do X, Y, and Z, but we don't always quite understand how to get there, the instructions of getting there. Huge reason why I made the whole intuition training course to begin with, if you're familiar with it. But the point being is, I love when the cards get really specific because, well, let's just say it's very helpful. So first, let's be specific over here with these 2 cards interacting. I learned valuable lessons from studying the past. Now, I did ask my spirit guide if this was referring to your past as in this current lifetime or in a past life. I was told a past life. Now, why is this important? Well, fun fact, so when you have lived all the lives you have lived, and I have made a video about past lives, if you go check out on this channel my spiritual talks videos, it talks about past lives. So when you have a past life, if you do not figure out how to overcome something emotionally, or maybe you had trouble letting go of something, and these do not always have to be really big events in your life. They can be quite small. But what happens is they carry over on your soul into other lives until you eventually learn it. Now, the interesting thing is because time is not actually linear, we just talk about it in a linear way, but it's all happening at once. This is like a in-depth concept. Did you know that you could be existing at the same exact time as one of your reincarnations? It's very fascinating. So anyways, going back on, when you're dealing with this, it's not always from the direct past life before. Sometimes you'll have not let go of something, you'll live a couple more lives, and then eventually the time will pop up and it will be the right time to work on something and then deal with it. This is why we just randomly have irrational fears. Well, this is not solely why. This is just a reason, potentially why. You just have an irrational fear you can't quite place. Out of nowhere, you're deeply bothered by something that you weren't bothered by before. Have you ever met someone and the two of you have had some sort of reaction to each other? This could be positive, like soulmates, or this could be negative, like, I don't know why me and this coworker just don't get along. What is our mutual issues with each other? So in your past life, when we have the Five of Wands upright, my spirit guide was telling me you had one where you were constantly put in a position to have to defend your ranking. It kind of felt like, the best way I can explain this is if we were to look at the past, back in the day, like way back in the day, like a couple hundred years, people, ranking was super important. So if you were in the court of, like a royal situation, depending on how important you were and how favored you were by your peers and the royals, that would be an example of wanting to define your ranking and get in and be liked by whoever is in charge so you have better opportunities. Well, it wasn't like you weren't at that high of a social climbing level. It's more that you would be like somewhere in the range, like above the lowest ranking of poverty, but not quite like a full-on duke kind of thing. Again, I'm just generalizing this. But the point is you were in this position where you had a lot of competition and people wanted, if you had this opportunity, it would give you a better life. And so you were constantly feeling like you had to watch your back. You might have had to make decisions to make sure that other people didn't take your place and that you appeared more important and more valuable because they weren't giving enough opportunities to other people. So this made it very uncomfortable for you. You didn't just get to climb up and then enjoy the better position than what you had before. You felt like you were constantly on edge having to defend it in some kind of way. So this type of feeling is presenting itself over the next 3 days and it's popping up. Hold on a second. Let me just ask my spirit guide something. I was asking if this is something you're regularly working with or it's more predominant right now. It's more predominant right now, I was told. And so what can we learn from that? So with that popping up, and that is the funny thing with past lives, I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, but things from your past lives, when it's the right timing and the right circumstances, they'll just sort of like pop up and just suddenly now it's a thing you need to deal with karmically and pass over and let go and learn from in a way maybe it wasn't but a week before. So what we're learning from this is, one example would be, you shouldn't have to defend yourself in your current circumstances from your peers or worry if someone's going to take your light or take your opportunity, or maybe they have something that you don't have, or you have to make everyone else be aware that you're the only one, that type of thing. If you're meant to be for that job and situation, people will naturally see what you have to vibe with or what you have to offer, and it won't be this huge task and work place. And not only will it work itself out, but if you need to find a different position that is natural for you, where you just like live your everyday life, you don't even have to think about it, and everyone just already notices what you have to offer, then that is what it's meant to be. You don't need to force yourself in a position where you'd be happier somewhere else, where you have a natural flow somewhere else. It's not about you failing in one position, but realizing that's not where you're meant to be in one place, and you're finding where you're naturally meant to be in another. But in addition to that idea of like where you're meant to be, that type of concept, being in that headspace, it's realizing that it's about not giving into this lie we're told, this idea that, well, that's the way it works. You're constantly in competition with others. You're constantly having to be aware with what you have to offer and what others have to offer. There's this sort of meditative feeling I was shown. It's like breathing, sticking your head above a crowd, and realizing that there was never need to sort of fight with one another in the first place. There was no reason to ever be insecure, that there will always be enough opportunity for you and for those other people, that you will always naturally be in the right place at the right time, that you will always be valued, that you will always find your inner confidence and be appreciated and be recognized, and realizing that what you were giving into was what you were simply taught. But it doesn't mean just because it's taught and it's put in your face constantly that it is the truth. It is the most intrusive thing, so it feels like it grabs your attention the most. But it's this idea of looking around and realizing and taking that breath and looking at all the examples in life. If you need that, and that's more than fine. If you look at how many people are successful in this world and how many people do the same thing and just really rock it and bring their own version, and everyone has space, then you're suddenly aware, how does that not also apply to you, essentially? So it's this idea of realizing you'll be at the right place at the right time, and if you're meant to sort of, you're not being pushed out, the world's not against you, you're being pushed towards where you're naturally meant to be, where you don't have to put in so much effort, but also simultaneously taking on the mentality and realizing it's not the way it was in your past life. There is room for everyone. You don't have to give. You have the luxury in this modern day to not have to give in to what society makes you think is the real truth, when it's just not. It most likely wasn't back then, but everyone was in a panic state of mind. You had to do what you had to do. That's just what it felt like was the only options, and that's just where people were at back then. But you're not back then. You're different now, and you have the option and you have the capability of tapping into that, essentially. So it's very much you taking a breath and feeling like a sense of relief with that knowledge. And that concept of relief pops up again and is very important when we talk about both of these cards. So in the Four of Swords in reverse, this is a warning, and this is what you want to be, Four of Swords upright. So in the Four of Swords in reverse, well, in general in this cards, it talks about this idea of needing to take a break, to relax. In this particular case, it's the idea of taking a break of when you're in this mindset, you feel like you're having to constantly be aware of what could be, what's happening around you, what is everyone else thinking, and having to manage a lot. And this is you taking an actual break from that mindset. This is you being so free that you feel like you don't need to finish things because you know you'll get it done at the right time, turning off your phone, just really just being like, why would I need to constantly be aware of what everyone else is doing? I know what I'm doing. I know that I can easily tap into what I know what I'm doing, and I'll naturally find that connection with the right individual for people to appreciate what I have to offer. Again, just totally smooth sailing type of mindset, just not feeling like you have to manage everything mentally. So when it's a Four of Swords upright, this is where we want you to be. This is just total relaxation, and we are going to get specific about how you're going to get there. But the warning comes in when it's in reverse. This is like saying, hey, if you don't take a break, the universe is going to make you take one. And these are not fun. This is when people don't feel good or something happens, like they get hurt or something, and you're put in a position where you're forced to slow down. And during that break, you're more taking a recovery that doesn't feel as comfortable as if you had decided to voluntarily take it and you're just enjoying yourself, you're taking the day off, you're watching your favorite shows, you feel your best, so you're enjoying that time off your best, compared to the universe putting you in a position where you are chilling out and you're forced to slow down, but man, it's not as comfortable, and it wasn't exactly how you wanted, and maybe it even makes you a little bit stressed about how this all adds up into the future, and so on and so forth. So again, this is not to freak you out. My spirit guide said, don't worry, like everything's going to be okay, but this is a priority for you to do that so that this doesn't happen. You can't make excuses and say, well, I just need to feed attention to the next thought because it's asking for my attention. It's asking me for it to be managed, because you're going to find yourself in this circumstance and you just don't need to go through that. So how can we take a pull back from this situation and build that inner trust with all those things we said over here? So we've got the Eight of Swords in reverse, which I love. Now I love, and this is when I really love my spirit guides, because they're very specific about what cards I choose and which ones I pull and how many and all that jazz. And nothing's a coincidence. But we have bats, and I love this because they can fly away. So traditionally, the Eight of Swords upright is this idea of an individual, usually in the card, surrounded by a bunch of swords. And they're blindfolded, and there's this feeling of feeling claustrophobic and unable to break free. But the card is actually, in my opinion, very positive. It talks about this idea that these things are only there, and you're only sort of bound or feel like you can't go anywhere, you don't have any options, and that type of thing, because of your own self-limiting beliefs. As in, you gave your power to someone else. You created a problem mentally, like you created an excuse for yourself that you can also, because you created it, you can remove. You can take back your power. There's actually a lot more options for you when you allow yourself to see those options. So with it in reverse, it talks about this idea of not only the confirmation, I'm happy to say, that you will be free, which I love, but also just this idea of that's what you're going for. So essentially, you're going to imagine every time you have a reason as to why you have to be aware of what other people are doing, why you have to be concerned about your situation, your position, how you're ranking in that situation you're in. Let me ask if this is career-based or can this be relationship-based? My spirit guide said definitely relationship-based, but they said in some cases career, because this is a general reading. So as in, for a lot of you, relationship. For some of you, career. But it's this concept where you don't have to be aware of what everyone else is doing type of idea. So when you have these thoughts, that's what they are. They're thoughts. Think of yourself as a being. You can even close your eyes with this visualization right now. And you're going to imagine yourself standing in a dark room, and it's just you. And then when you have a thought, like you think of flowers, imagine that little flower floating around you, and you can see it. And then you're going to think about the idea of a person you're concerned about, and you see their face. Then you're going to think about a person you care about, and you see their face. These are floating concepts. They're around you. It's as if you can grab them, and that type of concept, right? So every time you have this idea, you're going to imagine it like a bat. You're going to imagine it exist. And then you're going to give yourself the permission and have this mantra in your head where you're like, it's just a thought flying by. It came into my reality. I don't have to manage it. I don't have to have an emotional reaction to it. If I did for a second have a quick emotional reaction, maybe you felt stressed out for a second just at the thought of it. That's okay. That doesn't mean you need to keep comforting it, keep feeding it, keep giving it attention. And you're going to, like a bat, imagine it flying away. You're not going to give it any more. And it's okay if it comes back for whatever reason. Sometimes it takes a couple times of acknowledging it and letting it fly away. But you're going to actively do that every time you self-reflectively notice there's a thought that is about this type of idea, of the managing, of the focusing on, controlling, anything where you think you can't just naturally exist, that you somehow have to do more to be more when you already are enough. Anytime that one made me cry, I can emotionally through the reading feel that. I hope that resonated with you, because I can feel it. So you're enough. And so you're just noticing that thought and you're letting it come in. You're going to pretend it's like a beautiful little bat, and you're just going to say, thank you, bat. take the thought away, or maybe you're going to think of a bat holding a little scroll, like the thought's a scroll, and it's going to be tied up in their little legs, and they're going to fly away, and you're going to imagine that. And it will become more and more frequent and easier to identify them, and easier to let them go. And you're just going to practice that. And that's what's going to then give our beautiful imagery over here, because if you notice, these individuals are all kind of like surrounding this main person who's relaxed, taking a break, and they're like, we got your back. If you've got any more thoughts you want to give us, we're here. We're going to fly them away. We're going to give you that break. But this exercise will make it actually much more possible for you to truly take a break from the mindset. Because it's so funny. Sometimes people say to you, oh, just let it go. And you're like, how do I do that? How do I possibly do that? This is like a little exercise. You're going to acknowledge the thoughts there. You're going to imagine seeing it on a scroll of piece of paper. You're going to imagine it winding itself up. You're going to imagine a friendly little bat is going to grab it in its, little, I don't know what to call it, claws, little feet, and then they're going to fly away. And you're going to feel kind of dreamy about it. I would also recommend acknowledging if you feel a sense of like energetic pressure leaving you, and you're just going to let each thing be what it is. Do not put all your expectations in each individual thought being quote unquote the solution. Remember, we're just focused on, that thought doesn't really help me be the best version of me. Okay, it's flying away. And then the idea of then saying to yourself, I think I'm going to take a break and not think about these things and just let myself be me. I'm just going to exist. I'm just going to relax is much more possible and a realistic goal that you can connect with on an emotional and mindset level, exercising that. So I love this for you. You're working out some karma. You're better understanding how you can let yourself be yourself, and you're exercising in such a way where over time, as you exercise this, you're going to really have that click for you. Because just a reminder, anybody who is, confident or finding their way to self-love, it takes time. It's okay to say things to yourself that are positive in nature, but maybe you just don't click with it yet. It takes time. Like it takes time for these bats to fly off with these intruding thoughts. It takes a second to then connect with these other more positive ones. And this will give your brain enough room to sit in your awesomeness and just essentially exude it. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit a like, subscribe, hit a notification to this channel. It helps out like you would not believe. The bell, hitting the bell. And I look forward to seeing you next one. I love you and wishing you the best. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out what's going to happen over the next 3 days by looking at the cards. Your affirmation card is, I defend and protect myself and those that I care for. We have your tarot cards, Page of Cups upwards, the Hermit in reverse, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, the Wheel of Fortune card upright, and the Hangman in reverse. Just give me one quick second to look over the details of these cards and to consult my spirit guides. Okay, so we do have some stuff we're going to go over that will both be empowering, but I'll admit a little annoying. Mostly we want to focus on the fact that you will feel very empowered and a greater sense of like, yeah, I know who I am, and like really feel connected to that, which is beautiful. And also something to focus on that's important. And I do want to heed this with a little bit of warning's too strong. Just something to keep in mind. If your spirit guides say you should focus on this, make it a priority, because I can't tell you the amount of times, you're like, oh yeah, I hear you. And it just doesn't feel as important as, they'll bring it up and it just doesn't seem like it connects at the time. And then later you look back and you're like, oh, Maybe I should have listened to that. So just keep that in mind as we go forward into some of this context. So going forward, anyways. So first we're going to start with our affirmation card, which is the little bit of annoying part. So we have, I defend and protect myself and those that I care for. Now, specifically, my spirit guide said that you are going to be put in some positions where you're going to have to defend yourself. I was told this would happen a couple times. I'm happy to say that it's nothing to do with feeling unsafe. It is more like having to justify who you are as a person. And I thought this was really interesting. So my spirit guide said, normally this is not something you would want to give attention to. Even if people are putting you in that position, it's kind of like they're putting themselves in your little bubble, your world, and being like, I'm now your manager, explain yourself to me. And I'm not saying they're your manager, I'm saying like somebody's putting themselves in a position or putting you in a position to have to explain yourself. And you don't have to do that. But in this particular case, it would actually be a good idea to put be like, listen, this, and this, because you're actually more doing it for yourself. And you're going to notice we're going to come back to that again in the Hermit card, and we're going to talk about this a little bit again with the Hangman reverse. But essentially, you are letting them know, and in turn, reminding yourself, yeah, you know what? I am awesome. You know what? I do know what I'm doing, so on and so forth. It's not something you really want to focus on forever, but we're just focusing on these 3 days. So a little annoying. We don't love being in those positions, but ultimately you're going to leave the situation being like, yeah, I feel like I understand myself better. I feel like now that I've said it out loud, I feel like I agree with maybe some internal monologues I wasn't allowing myself to really give into that full confidence, give into who I really am. And now I've acknowledged it, I've put it out into the universe, I've defended it, and just feeling a little more closely tied to your central identity, which is beautiful. Now, going on with that mindset, you'll notice that repeats very much, but in a different kind of format with the Hermit card in reverse. So my spirit guide said over these next 3 days, it's a really good time for you to take all that time that you've marinated, as I like to think of it, by yourself. You've taken time to understand who you are, lots of self-discovery, anything where you were taking time to be by yourself and figure out your stuff. Well, now is the time to go out and apply it and be proactive in the world with who you've identified within yourself. As you can see, the universe is giving you some opportunities to do that. But it isn't always about the situations where you're going to have to be like, listen, and let someone know what you think in more in that, we'll just say annoying kind of way. There are going to be times when you've discovered, you know what? I am maybe a little more quiet as a person, but sometimes I do have an opinion and I want to be a little more extroverted. And you're going to go out of your way and be that little bit more extroverted when you feel those opportunities present themselves. Or maybe you've learned you're someone who really has a particular hobby. You maybe like to research a particular bit of information or something like that. Go share that with people. Go tell people about it. Let them know, if they say, how was your day? You'll be like, it's great. I've been thinking about this new fact I learned, this new technique I've learned. This thing fascinates me. You're going to put it out into the world, whether it be with your close friends or social media or whatever. You're just going to put it out into the world. Oh, hold on one second. I can hear my spirit guide talking. Oh, okay, everything's cool. They were just agreeing with the social media. I thought they were saying no, I just wanted to clarify with that. Everything's cool. So anyways, again, we can see that happening in some situations, but in many, they are your choice. It's much more of a comfortable and happy experience. But you're going to really try to go out of your way to go, what have I learned about myself? Who am I? And then apply it into your daily life. Express it. Put it out there. Now, going forward, I do see when we talk about expression, we have the Page of Cups, and it is a romantic interest popping up. Now, for the most part, this is for single people. I double checked and I said, what if somebody's taken? And I was told in a very tiny, small amount of cases. In some cases, yes, but mostly it's for single people. And this romantic interest comes to them, right? Okay, I was told, yes, they approach you, and it is only through social media. It is not through any other form. So that's how you will be able to identify them. I was told, though, prior to that just exchange with my spirit guide, that your timelines are sort of too up in the air to really define this in a greater thing. It's just something to get excited about over the next 3 days. You're going to be talking to someone. But when we talk about timelines, so it's really interesting. So when you get into like exploring your karmic contract, just learning about time in general, I talk about all of this stuff in depth on my Patreon. But sometimes things in your life are predetermined. It's very rare. It's not common. Usually the way it works is, imagine like a web or a tree branch, if you will. And so we've got 3 timelines, and you could potentially choose out of all 3. And then from there's 6 from each branch. And then from those separate branches, there's 12, and so on and so forth. So sometimes certain things are defined in your life overall. Some things are defined within a timeline. And then if you pick that timeline, you're down that timeline. Most of it can be changed and whatever. But in your particular case and scenario, there's too many things sort of like up in the air, so have fun with that. It could go either way. Enjoy the attention because they're going out of the way to make you feel good, and who doesn't love that? I do want you to just keep in mind, when we have a Page of Cups, this is a very sweet sort of like, definitely going out of their way to like let you know they think that you're attractive. It is different than a Knight, because in a Knight, vibe-wise, this is more like you're meeting in person. So you haven't, over the 3 days, let me just double check. Yeah, my spirit guide said I was correct. Over the 3 days, you haven't met them in person yet, but you're communicating, you're vibing, you're liking feeling special, they're letting you know you're feeling special. And as we just talked about, you are special, you're expressing it, you're getting from the universe that reception back that like you are, like it's just really beautiful, all the opportunities and constant affirmations of like good vibes coming your way with all the hard work you did. So I love that. Now, going forward, though, I want to talk about the Queen of Pentacles and then the Hangman and then the Wheel of Fortune. So in the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, let me just ask if it's related to this. It is related to this. I know this is related to this, right? Yes. Okay. So in the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, unfortunately, this is someone, is it specifically a woman? It's okay. So my spirit guide said it's specifically a woman, and it's only a woman. So there is a woman, and she is very smothering, like trying to be in your space, almost trying to like nurture you without your permission in like an unhealthy, needy, kind of inappropriate way, in that respect, the way they are like expressing themselves is they are dealing with this inner jealousy because they see that you have connected with, successfully accomplished, are in the midst of accomplishing something quite easily, like you're in attunement with whatever you're accomplishing. And they didn't get to achieve that. That's something that they struggle with. And so they look at you and they're like, I want that. I want to be that good at that. I want to have a natural ability in that, or a natural way of expressing myself like that. And as we talked about, you've really taken the time to figure that out. And this is your time to thrive. Well, this is weirdly a blessing, is the best way I can put it. Because sometimes when you're initially starting to thrive, like you've just figured out your inner light and you're shining, you're like, I know, I found it. I know where it is. I know how to turn it on, so to speak. When that happens, sometimes you get some people out of the woodwork drawn to that light. It's like their inner darkness wants that for themselves. So there's that initial sort of like natural magnetization going on. Magnetic? I hope I'm using the correct verb. So this is weirdly like a blessing initially, because it's showing you the sign of like you're doing great. Now, this is someone you can definitely create a barrier, a boundary with. This is kind of like when you're doing really great and maybe some ex-friends that you're no longer friends with just like approach you out of nowhere and they start texting you. You don't text them back. Don't talk to them back. it was a test from the universe. You don't need that energy in your space. So this is someone seeing what you've accomplished. They're jealous. They wish they had that. In a weird way, it's a compliment and a blessing that's happening. But you're also given an opportunity to say, I will continue to shine. I will not have anyone affect this. So I was told by my spirit guide, I was like, can you change this? Can you create some sort of separation? And they said, yes. They said, you can just not be in the room, like walk out of the room. You can just clearly be like, nope, no thank you. You cannot do that. You're not welcome. And just really clearly be like, you're not coming anywhere near me. I'm going to go vibe and do this thing over here. I don't really need to hear your opinions, anything like that type of thing. And then you just create that separation and move on. Not that big of a deal, but again, this is in alignment with what we talked about earlier. These things are related. Now, one more thing I want to talk about, this is all related back to this main, these opportunities that present themselves for you to defend yourself kind of concept, is when we have this card, the Hangman reverse. This is somebody, when it is in reverse, who was previously, usually it's described as like sitting on the sidelines. They were, sometimes it involves isolation. Maybe you just feel like you couldn't be involved. So like example, maybe at one point in your life, you were active in a particular career. You needed to take a break. You're coming back to that career or interest now because you've taken some time to like regroup and figure yourself out and work through some things and stuff like that, which applaud to you. And this is you kind of initially going out into the universe and being like, okay, I'm ready to be a participant now. I'm ready. Also, just side note, if you're a fellow tarot reader or new to tarot reading, this is also a great card to talk about timing. It usually talks about, depending on if it's upright or reverse, it talks about this idea that like things are sometimes out of your control, that sometimes it's just not good timing. It can be reassurance if you feel like you're missing out on something, like, oh no, did I miss out on this opportunity? It's like, no worries, it's just a timing thing. It wouldn't be a good time for you anyways. So right now, this is the card saying like, it is good timing. Despite some of these things popping up, there are opportunities to, as we said, defend yourself, really cement internally in yourself that you know yourself and so on and so forth, and you're not afraid to express it, and you're going to keep expressing it. But if we look at this individual, I love how my spirit guide, this is so funny, look at my spirit guide points this out. They said, so pretend because it's in reverse, this individual is like going out into the world, and the first people they encounter is these individuals. And as you can tell by the expression on the scarecrow, they're like, okay, hello? Like, it's like, who are you? And the way my spirit guide described it is, it's like, if there's this entrance that you're going through, initially going into participating back into what we explained just prior, these are the first people in the way of that entrance, as we talked about over here and over here with that individual that's like sort of smothering and acting like they're being caring, but they're not. And just in general, a couple opportunities of people asking putting you in a position where you have to defend yourself. These are those people giving, as my spirit guide put it, unwanted opinions. And you're essentially, and they said, even though these people will pop up and share these unwanted opinions, you don't need to then have that define or have that worry you if that's how it's going to be going forward. It's just the initial sort of like people in front of the entrance, and then you're going to pass them as we expressed in detail over here. And then it's all smooth sailing after that. So it's like, let it get you discouraged. Don't let it make you get in your head where you need to be defensive or be concerned if this is like a regular process. Nope, you're just sort of clearing out the trash of your energetic life. You know what I mean? Like anything around you, anything that's not vibing with you, you are telling the universe, nope. And in that respect, also having a greater confidence in yourself due to these opportunities. Now, last but not least, this is what we were talking about before when I said, just like keep an open mind, I guess is the best way to put it. So with the Wheel of Fortune, normally this talks about luck or karma, but in this respect, it actually has to do with the imagery. I'm only pointing that out because, you know, if you're familiar with my tarot reading, I like to go into explanation so we're all on the same page. But also, I feel like if we're open about how we read the cards, we can all like better understand new ways of reading the cards and how our intuition flows. So my spirit guide was telling me that we're focusing on the imagery of this person. And as you can tell, there are all these, you know, zodiac signs and stuff around them. And that this individual is sort of locked down on this wheel. and it spins and spins. And, if they were in an upright position with gravity, they would feel more comfortable. And if they were in reverse, it wouldn't feel good. They'd probably feel sick from the constant spinning. So my spirit guide basically said that, and I want this to be taken in the best possible, understand that this is like said with love, just keep an open mind for the whole concept. You want to take a break from defining your life by things that involve astrology right now over the next 3 days. Anything where you're comparing people by zodiac signs, or you hear something is in retrograde, anything where they're like, hey, this is going to happen around this time due to this planet, you're going to take a break from having your life be sort of dictated by it. That's the best way I can explain it. Now, I want to be clear here. I love astrology that's me. I know that I'm reading the cards. This is not my opinion, but I want to say I love astrology. It's amazing. But what my spirit guide was trying to convey is that it would be a good time for you to have a break from those things and not let those things be the first thing that influence how you would respond to something, how you would feel, in a position where, like, let's say you hear that there is going to be some planet in something, and this would be a big time for confrontation or something like that. Actually, I shouldn't say that because we just talked about that. For bad luck, we'll say something like that. And then you hear it and you get in your head and you're like, oh, it's a great time for bad luck. And then if anything bad happens, you keep saying to yourself, oh, well, there's a planet and it's in bad luck. Right now, it would be a good time for you to just pull away and make more decisions in the moment and interactions between people based on what's happening right in front of you. Again, I want to be really clear. It doesn't mean giving up astrology. Astrology is wonderful and a beautiful craft and so complex and gorgeous. But we're just talking about taking a step back from it and viewing life in a different perspective, and then you can bring that perspective back into astrology. So just a temporary break. Again, the reason why I say pay attention to this and follow it is I cannot tell you the amount of times on a personal level my spirit guides have told me something like, oh, think about this or look at this, and I'll be told it and it feels very out of nowhere, like it's nowhere near on my mind. I didn't think I was struggling with something. I didn't think that was my mindset, and I'm like, really? Okay. And then I don't, because again, it's not as precedent. It just sort of, I forget about it, and then before I know it, it builds up. Suddenly I'm anxious. Suddenly certain things are surrounding me, and I look back and I'm like, I was given the notice. I just maybe should have listened to that. So again, you do what you vibe with, but I'm just lovingly saying, from one person to another, just take a couple days where you're just vibing and doing your own thing, and then you can come back and enjoy this all you want. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope you are ready to be your best self in every circumstance. Know that these other things are, they happen a couple times, but it will be a big, easy thing for you to defend yourself, roll off your shoulders, set some boundaries, and have a lovely time the rest of the time. And we've got a cutie coming your way, and you're just going to be in a really happy, confident place being yourself, and we love that. So please let me know in the comments below what you're vibing with, what you think. Did you already energetically feel something was coming your way when we talk about the Page of Cups? I'd love to know. Also, please give this video a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what's happening in the next 3 days by looking at the cards. Your affirmation card is, I use my fears as signs that guide and protect me. Your tarot cards are the Tower card in reverse, the Wheel of Fortune card in reverse, the Seven of Pentacles upright, the Four of Cups upright, and the Four of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Oh, sorry. I just got right into reading the cards. Sorry. Just give me a moment to look at the details of these cards and consult my spirit guides. I love this. Oh my God. This is an incredibly uplifting reading. Like, there's a sense of finally, like a sigh of relief of like, finally. It's got a lot of happy, positive vibes around it, but it's coming from a place of someone who's been through it for a while. So it's a sense of both relief, like, yay, but you're not immediately jumping for joy because you're kind of just processing that all this good stuff happened to you. You know what I mean? Like, you're coming from a place of just being like, oh, it's finally done. It's finally over. So I love this for you. I'm going to get specific of what that means in 1 second. So first, this is a sort of not as, well, it is interwoven to a certain degree. Let me explain. In the affirmation card, we see, I use my fears as signs that guide and protect me. So immediately I saw there's a ghost in your house. Let me ask how many there are. 3 to 4 for everybody. Everybody or most people? Everyone. Okay. No worries. Fun fact, if you were familiar with all of the stuff that I talk about on Patreon, I go in quite a lot of depth about ghosts. I even did a whole thing talking about crossing them over. I do like a live one of crossing, a live video where I go and find some and then I cross them over and everything like that. Not a big deal, super common. Most people deal with this or don't know they're dealing with it. So essentially, this is you using your psychic abilities. This is the fun thing about being psychic. First of all, everybody has the abilities. They just need to understand how to identify it and work with it. And one of the ways people are exercising this part of themselves and don't even know they are, is what happens is your inner being senses something is wrong, and instead of just right away going, oh, I sense something is off, and then going deeper into that and being like, how did I sense it? Did I sense it through energy? Did I sense it through just psychic knowing? Did I smell something? So on and so forth, whatever your initial abilities are. I do also want to put out there, everybody has every single ability, and you can grow and define all of them. Just want to put that out there. But what will happen is, if you are new to this, is your survival instincts kick in. This is your physical mind. And when I say that, again, I'm trying to give you the cliff notes of these concepts, but you have a physical mind, physical body, and I don't mean as in your physical brain. It's like spiritual anatomy is the best way I can put it. Physical mind, physical brain, mental mind, mental body, mental mind, mental body, spirit mind, spirit body. And essentially these are the different avenues that you process how you react and respond. Physical mind, physical body is like anytime you're having a reaction to thing. Like it's just survival, instant, emotional, and you work your way eventually to tapping into your spirit mind and spirit body. This is any psychic stuff. This is any type of deep meditation. This is any part of yourself that sees the bigger picture, not just understands that there is a ghost, but that the ghost is a message for your abilities, that you're getting a greater narrative going on there, and what that exactly means, so on and so forth. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version. So essentially your survival instincts kick in, and your first response is like fear, like you feel paranoid and stuff like that. Well, that is your insides going, there's ghosts. So not a big deal. Again, I go into great detail over on my Patreon about this, but essentially all you need to do, if you are not familiar with doing it yourself, like crossing them over, is you can just simply call upon your spirit guides or an angel and just say like, hey guys, I am aware I've got a ghost. Could you please take it for me? And they will remove it. I do want to put this out there though. There is what is called integration time, which essentially means that even though they have been removed from your place, the energy, if you will, is still settling, and you're sort of claiming that back, and you will still to a certain degree feel a little creeped out or feel a little weird, and this is just you adjusting to it. Just because you feel that doesn't mean it didn't actually work. I also do want to be clear that when you do ask them to be removed over these 3 days and you say, hey, can you remove them, you want to be really clear with your intentions. So that means I would recommend sitting down, really clearly saying internally as a monologue or saying out loud, hey, spirit guides, or whoever you want to talk to, hey, spirit guides, can you please remove these entities? Can you remove them, please? Waiting a couple minutes, maybe even visualize the idea of them leaving the space and you seeing your spirit guides take them out, that type of thing. You want to be really clear with your intention and just kind of meditate on it for like a minute or two so that you can not only be absolutely clear that you made that definitive question and request, but there's like a psychological part of you that just needs to like feel like you did it. You know what I mean? So anyways, going forward from that, I'm really happy to say you have the Tower card in reverse and the Wheel of Fortune card in reversed. So the reason why this is so awesome is these are two really epic cards. They're really, really, really big. When we have a Tower card in reverse, it is a super positive sign that something that has been just plaguing you for a while is finally coming to an end. This can be anything from like a habit that has been really self-destructive for a long time, maybe not a great relationship, anything. I'm just giving a greater definition about the card itself. But it's this idea of like, oh, finally. Also, I always like to talk about this stuff because I feel like it all makes us like better readers, and I think it's fun for the reading itself. But when we look at, as we talk about in my tarot training course, we're always looking for subtext of a card. So this card would imply it's been a while. It's a long time. Also, you could go deeper and talk about with the Wheel of Fortune card. I'm going to be clear in one moment how these two are connected. Wheel of Fortune card talks often about karma. So with this being here, this also implies this idea of longevity, that it's been a while. So what is coming to this end in a positive way? Well, I'm happy to say, in so many words, the bad luck that's been following you for some time now, it's coming to an end for good. How cool is that? I love when I get to say something so large. That's a really big deal. That's a really big deal. I want to be clear, because there's so many options in this universe and the way you live it and timelines and choices and how it could all go and influencing factors from your own past life to you to other people and interactions. It's very rare to hear the spirit guide say ever or, this is what it is forever, because things do always change. So this is like amazing that I get to basically tell you this. They said to me that you made enough of really big, valuable kind of decisions that essentially this grants you this. Now, what does that mean when I say that? So the way the system, I'm just calling it that, of life works is things are happening because you are essentially asking the universe to help you process something. So sometimes this is karma. And remember, karma is not purely based on if you were quote unquote a bad person or doing not great things in another lifetime. These are things that you had trouble letting go of. You just refused to learn the lesson. Maybe you were too afraid to learn the lesson. Something happened. It could be anything, even small, minute ideas. And they pop up in our other lifetimes so we can eventually work it out and let it go. This is very similar to meeting people in multiple lifetimes that you don't particularly like. And then eventually in this lifetime, you say to them, no more. And you're saying to the universe, I have learned the lesson. I have finally stood up to them. I'm done. That type of thing. So you have made certain decisions that have basically healed that karma enough that you have now opened the floodgates for you to essentially not need to learn the previous lessons you were learning through that misfortune. You don't have to do that anymore. We're done. You are very intelligent and insightful and intact and making hard decisions, and it's paid off. So I love this for you. This is like a relieving thing. But when we first hear this type of good news after being through something like that, there is a sense of like jadedness, almost a disconnect. It's like hard to actually realize that it's done, and it can almost feel like you're empty inside, and even can have random times that you feel emotional. Oh my god, I'm starting to pick up the energy of this card. Okay. If I pick up the energy of the cards, I will not be able to read the cards. So let me continue. I can just feel it's intense. Not in a bad way, but like I just want to cry and I feel this. So, which is a beautiful thing. We're going to come back to that idea I just expressed over here in the Four of Cups and how it's actually something really beautiful that you can work with. So before we get into the Seven of Pentacles and the Four of Cups upright, these are both connected, we're going to go to the Four of Pentacles. So I was told that on the third day, remember these are the 3 days, on the third day there would be this epiphany. Something's going to click for you. You're going to hear something, maybe you hear it in a podcast, maybe you hear someone say something in person or on social media, whatever, but something clicks for you. And you realize, and this is in the relationship of money, I want you to look at this individual. In an upright position, this person is planting seeds to grow pumpkins. Now, traditionally, the Four of Pentacles in general talks about this idea of somebody who feels they have limited resources when it's an upright position. So they are not only letting us know they are in a lacking mindset, but it's more like an understandable lacking mindset. They're like afraid. They're like, this is all I have. I can't just go out and spend money or do X, Y, and Z because I don't know. I don't feel connected to the idea that I'm going to have more come in. So I'm going to make sure that the stuff I have stays there. Just from a tarot reading perspective, this can also be a really beautiful positive thing, like a boundary setting thing with your energy. Like you might get this in a card reading and you might be telling yourself or, whatever interaction you're reading the cards for yourself or other people. And that card is saying, hey, I'm not in the headspace right now to share myself. I can't give that. And so I'm going to have to set a boundary and I got to just take care of me right now. I can't hang out. I can't give you my time and attention to listen to your stories. I'm just not in that headspace. And that is a totally understandable, respectable thing that sometimes we just got to do in our life. And you could do it whenever, but sometimes it's like more intense and you're really going through a tough time. So in reversed, it's the opposite. There's this epiphany happens. And suddenly you realize, well, if I'm logically going to keep making money the rest of my life, I'm going to live longer, I therefore technically am always going to have money happening. Technically, because time is not linear, it's all on top of itself at once, I've already received the money and know I'm going to keep receiving the money. So if I already know I'm going to receive the money and everything's good, I need to go live life. I need to go live life through this spending money. Because remember, while there are many beautiful things we can do for free, there are a lot of things that we can enjoy that do involve spending money. This is treating yourself, taking yourself to some fun type of extracurricular activity or festival or thing that involves leaving the house and doing something for yourself or maybe you and whoever you're close to type of thing. And this is you realizing it's now time to harvest the pumpkins. You're suddenly clicking into yourself, again, we're using this metaphor, and you're like, I'm a farmer. I'm going to keep having pumpkins. I'm going to keep having a harvest every year. It doesn't matter. I already really fathom that and realize that. I don't have to keep saying this mantra to myself of well, I don't know. I'm not sure when next. It doesn't feel like that. And you just something in you resonates with it enough to be okay and release it. I also do want to talk about this card being a really positive affirmation card because this does talk about not only the idea of the lacking being over, but I often get this card reading to imply somebody is it's again, we don't have a Nine of Pentacles, absolute guaranteed huge promotion coming in. It's more that you have allowed yourself, if you view money flowing your way like a river, you no longer see it as something that could be blocked, but you're connected to the idea that it is always a river and it therefore is able to flow to you easier due to your mindset. So love that for you. And then last but not least, I think this is super beautiful of a message. So as you can tell, each little being we have over here, it's so funny, we were just talking about that. I just realized how they're connected. Like we said, you're always getting messages, things are happening for a reason. These ghosts, very much like this, are sort of like a metaphor. You are clearing them out in your life. You're saying, I'm ready to let go of that type of energy in a literal way with a different being. But it also represents you're ready to be done with all this stuff and be in a better circumstance. So love that for you. Just want to talk about that interconnection. But in this particular case, these beings are representing the idea of emotions and what gets you happy and excited. Like, have you ever watched a movie and you're like, that's so beautiful, oh, I love that couple, or look at this gorgeous setting or situation, this is so gorgeous, and you feel inspired by watching others, by experiencing others. So each circumstance is this like happy thing coming your way, and none of it clicks for you. It just feels like, I don't want to say maybe intrusive, I kind of feel a little bit. You're just like, I don't want to pick up what you're putting down. And the reason why is, and this is really beautiful, is because these are outside sources trying to make you happy. And that's not the situation you're really connected to in your, let me ask my spirit guide one thing. Yes, okay. I asked my spirit guide if it's also a meant to be thing. And they said yes. So nothing's wrong with you. Not that if this was the case, there'd be anything wrong with you then either. But I want to be clear, it's for a reason. These are outside resources trying to affect you in a positive way, but they're trying to affect you. And you are looking for your happiness on a subconscious level to more be cultivated from within you. So you're on purpose not having this reaction to these other individuals. And I say on purpose relatively. I'm trying to use my vocabulary the best I can. It's like, you're not thinking, outside source, I know I will not be happy from this. It's not clicking with you for a reason, because you really want to look inside yourself. And this is when we have our Seven of Pentacles. This is, again, that farmer analogy. They have their own little garden. Everybody's got their own little garden, and everybody's trying to reach out to you and go, look at these flowers I grew. Look at this waterfall I built. Look at this landscape I made. And they're all trying to show you, and in another circumstance, maybe another time in your life, that'd be beautiful. And you're like, oh, that's so cool. That's so inspiring. But you're like, man, what's wrong with me? Why is any of this getting me pumped? What's happening? Nothing's wrong with you. It's because you are meant to, and you want to find that for yourself, within yourself, from your own narrative. So essentially, you're connecting to no longer judging yourself for not feeling connected to these other people and emotions. But man, I just want to cry so bad. Whew, this reading's intense. I hope you on the other end are doing well, because I'm feeling the emotions. But in the Seven of Pentacles, this is you going inwards and going, okay, well, I don't know exactly what I want to plant yet, but I know that I want to feel excited about it. Maybe sort of vague. I do like the color purple. And you don't have to think about the color purple and then get so pumped up. You're just thinking of vague things that you do know you like. Or maybe you're like, no, I really like everything dark. That gets me excited. I like the monochromatic look of it. Or maybe you have a favorite movie or something like that, or you like an idea behind a movie. But whatever it is, you're starting to look inside yourself and say, what do I want to plant there with intention? And connect more in from there before you have an idea, before something clicks. Maybe you think of something you're good at that you'd like to explore. Maybe you realize you really like being a very extroverted or introverted person, and you want to explore that, and so on and so forth. But it's you letting go of that guilt, as we just expressed over here, because you're meant to redirect it inwards and be in the position where you look back and you go, I did that for me. I get me excited. So I love that for you. Anyways, super beautiful, really inspiring, gorgeous. Love this for you. Overall, it is like I said, a giant sense of relief, but for sure there's sort of, don't be surprised if you're a little bit emotionally delayed. Like you're happy, but you need a second before it clicks, with you. And that's okay. Take all the time you need. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please give this video a like and a comment. Let me know what you think, and subscribe and hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I love you. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and goodbye.